Hey, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to continue to construct and work with the DOM content loaded. And as we saw last time, that whenever the page, the document object loads, then it fires off an event listener that is listening for the DOM content to be loaded, and it runs the code that's contained within here. So what I want to do in this lesson is extend on what we did in the last lesson, where we're going to actually create a standalone app object that's going to run whenever the page gets loaded. And this is going to be where we're going to contain the core of our code. And this is also going to allow us to separate out the application from any other JavaScript. So in case we're reusing some of the variable names and so on, it's not going to conflict as we're going to be wrapping it in an object called app. So let's set that up within the script file. And then we're going to run app whenever the page loads. So creating an app, and it's going to be a function. It's going to be actually a self-invoking function that's going to run a particular file whenever the page loads. So it's going to be returning back an init function. So let's create that contained within the app function. And init is going to be the first initializing function that's going to run. And then within here, we can just simply put init ready. And that means that all of the content, and we're going to be using init to construct our game board in the upcoming lessons. So it's going to be an important function. And of course, we do want to return something, and that's what we're going to be returning back. So it's going to contain all of the construction of our web page and keeping it within a separate variable called app that's going to be separate from the rest of the JavaScript code. And all of the app contents are going to be sitting in script.js, and the only connection is going to be within index.html, where we're going to be loading the script.js file, and then whenever the DOM content loads, then we're going to connect to app. So doing a return, and we're going to return back an object, and this is going to be init, and we're going to invoke the function init. And this is expecting a function to be associated with it. So that's why we're not using the rounded brackets. Otherwise, we'd be invoking the function down here. And we don't want to be invoking the function on the return. We just want to be associating init with the same function name. So that's where we're returning that information back. And we do want app to be self-invoking. So we're going to simply have the rounded brackets, which indicate that the application is going to invoke. And that means that whenever we have the DOM content loaded, instead of running function, we're going to connect it to the app init object. And it's going to run the app init function. And remember, this is self-invoking. That's why we don't need the rounded brackets, because we've placed it within app. So let's try that and refresh the page. And now we've got, instead of page ready, we've got init ready. So that means that the app object is up and running, and it's returning back the contents of init, and within init is where we're going to set all of the document content. And that's coming up in the next lesson, where we're going to construct some HTML for the page so that it's going to be visible, as well as set up some game variables that we're going to be using within the app object. And the reason for making it this way is, again, to separate out any of this JavaScript contained within script.js from the regular pages, as you might have several different JavaScript libraries, and you don't want any interference between the app object and the function names within here that might be affecting the rest of the JavaScript code on the web page. So this completely separates it out, and it provides a nice, neat place to build our code within. And this is going to be a lot of JavaScript. We're going to be focusing only on JavaScript. So the upcoming lessons, we're going to construct everything using JavaScript. So that's coming up next.